moment the narcissist realizes you can't be beat. Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. Long-term listeners of my work will understand that a human being is nothing more than an appliance to the narcissist. You are there to be controlled, and the narcissist invariably selects the people that are easiest to control as the ones that they interact with. You are there to provide fuel. Fuel is the lifeblood of the narcissist. Read my book Fuel to understand more about that. You are there to provide the narcissist with character traits. Watch my video Character Trait Acquisition. And you're there to provide residual benefits. For instance, sex, a lift into work, a roof over their head, money, a facade, and much more. The narcissist isn't interested in you because you're a kind person, or that you're interesting, or that you're fun. The narcissist is only interested in you to the extent that you can serve a purpose to the narcissist vis-a-vis the prime aims. And if you don't, the narcissist is far less likely to have anything to do with you. Initially, the narcissist will be drawn to you because you've come up on the narcissist's radar, and the narcissist will recognize that you will service the prime aims particularly well, which is why certain individuals become targeted for the position of an intimate partner primary source. Other people are an affair partner, an intimate partner secondary source, or a dirty little secret. In other instances, they're a friend or a colleague, and therefore a non-intimate secondary source, or a family member, also a non-intimate secondary source. All of those positions in the fuel matrix are those of appliances. They're all to be controlled, to provide fuel, possibly character traits, and possibly residual benefits. Indeed, the individual that becomes the intimate partner primary source is chosen because that's the person who is the easiest to control but also provides the most fuel, character traits, and residual benefits. You are simply a commodity to the narcissist. And within all of that is the necessity of control and the necessity of the provision of fuel. If you start to falter with regard to that, this is a problem for the narcissist. Thus, if your residual benefits dry up, your fuel provision dips, or, for instance, you're becoming far more difficult to control, this presents a problem to the narcissist. And initially, the narcissist will shift to alternative manipulations to regain that control, to provoke you to provide more fuel, to provoke you to reinstate those residual benefits. The narcissist doesn't immediately jettison you. This is because you belong to the narcissist, and the narcissist has an inalienable right to continue to exploit you. However, in some instances, there comes a point whereby the narcissist recognizes that you can't be beat. In other words, you are no longer controllable, or the effort involved in controlling you is disproportionate to the return that is received, and therefore it's no longer worth doing. Now, it's important to understand that the unaware narcissist does not think to himself or herself, I can't beat this person. They don't think in such terms because the narcissism precludes them. They don't think, oh, I can no longer control this person, I'm now going to disengage from them. But that's what's going on in the subconscious. And I explain that to you to help you understand that that's what's actually going on, although the narcissist isn't actually thinking in such terms. What the narcissist will think is, you're awkward, you're difficult, you're not working at this marriage. You aren't in love with the narcissist any longer. You're playing away from home. You're having an affair. You're no longer a loyal and reliable friend. You're a useless colleague. That is how it manifests to the narcissist. The moment this occurs, the first thing that happens is that the narcissist initially attempts to bring you back under control, which means a shift in manipulations. It might be instituting benign manipulations from malign ones, or vice versa. The narcissist puts in more effort so as to not lose you, to kickstart those residual benefits once again, to get the fuel flowing once more. So at the moment, the potential of you not being beaten starts to manifest. The narcissist does try harder to squeeze those things out of you by applying more effort towards you, increasing the types of manipulations that are used, applying the manipulations with a greater degree of intensity. But there then comes a point whereby, as a consequence of perhaps your total no contact regime, which is the most effective thing that you can do, or general withdrawal from the narcissist, not total, that the narcissist starts to recognize that they are beat. Again, I repeat, the unaware narcissist doesn't think to themselves, oh, this person has beat me. They just think in terms of you being disloyal, awkward, no longer invested in the relationship. But when this moment comes, it causes horror for the narcissist. The fuel levels are dropping. The narcissist is being wounded by your withdrawal, your lack of involvement. This repeated wounding punches holes in the construct so that the fuel spills out even faster. This means that the narcissist feels weak, feels vulnerable, feels like they're spinning out of control. The presence of the emptiness becomes more obvious to them. There is not just a nagging itch, but an impending sense of doom. It's a thoroughly unpleasant situation for the narcissist. And it will result in them, in some instances, screaming and shouting, turning on the waterworks, as they beat their fists metaphorically and sometimes literally against you for the purposes of trying to succeed. But the narcissism at this juncture recognizes that, in effect, you have the narcissist beat. This is what happens with the lesser and mid-range narcissists. Therefore, what the narcissism does is realize that essentially you've become a flawed reason to extract emotion, a free. You're too difficult to control. Your fuel provision has really dropped off. The character traits and residual benefits are no longer what they were, and thus the narcissist has not been able to control you and kickstart those benefits, so the narcissism has to cause the narcissist to withdraw from you. When the narcissism senses that it's getting into the beat zone, if I can describe it as such, as I mentioned, it rallies and tries harder directly to control you. But there comes a point where the narcissism recognizes that it's no longer working, and it is at that juncture that the narcissism shifts to the third assertion of control, withdrawal. The narcissist slinks away. They invariably go off complaining to other people. They seek fuel from them by way of pity play. They go off and smear you, seeking fuel by way of people's responses to that, but they remain away from you because, in essence, the narcissism has recognized that you've got them beat, even if they don't think in such terms. Now, with the greater narcissist, it's a different scenario because the aware narcissist will never regard you as having beaten them. They will simply decide, I'm going to park this situation for the time being. I've got other things that require my attention, and I'm not in a position to dedicate as much time and control to this person, but I'm not letting them off the hook. Fortunately for you, most narcissists are lesser and mid-range, so the earlier scenario is the one that happens most often. Namely, the narcissist senses that you are on your way out, that in effect you've got them beat. They rail against this with preventative hoovers, etc. Those fail, and then there is the subconscious realization that you have beat the narcissist, which results in the narcissist slinking away and utilizing the third assertion of control by withdrawal. They are beaten. They have been defeated. This doesn't preclude them, of course, from coming back by way of hoovering you on another occasion, and I've spoken separately about the instances when that happens. But the moment that the narcissist realizes you can't be beat, namely you can't be brought under control, and all of those benefits can't be kick-started, is one which causes the narcissist to feel like the world is coming in on them, that the walls are crashing down on their existence, and it causes them to slink away, their tail between their legs, and seek solace elsewhere. It doesn't destroy them, but it certainly causes them to realise that you are a problem, and therefore they decide to stay away from you. As mentioned with the greater narcissist, the greater narcissist simply decides to park the scenario and does not admit defeat. Indeed, they are likely to return and catch you off guard so that they can resume their playing with you. And often the case, your attempts to withdraw yourself from the greater are ineffective. What usually happens with the greater is that the greater gets bored of toying with you and moves on to something else, rather than you being able to escape the greater. But as I mentioned, most narcissists are lesser and mid-range, which means they suffer the experience that I've described, that there is the subconscious understanding that they can't beat you, and therefore they have to withdraw, slinking away like the coward that they are. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.